You and the Wood brothers were probably the combination, if you look at Darlington through the history.
I think so.
Yeah.
Really.
What made you guys?
They knew what I wanted, you know, and in fact, we never would hardly ever even change that car. Once we go there, if it wasn't right, you know, he would ask me, "Do you need to change something?" I'd say no, because I wasn't running where I wanted to run, and I wasn't running the groove that I wanted to run. So I knew that I could run faster when the groove got to where I wanted it. So I wouldn't let him touch the car.
When you talk about, you know, everybody talks about Darlington being too tough to tame. When you went there to race, were the competitors your toughest competitor, or was the racetrack your toughest competitor?
Well, no doubt about it. You had to keep your mind on what you're doing at all time and where you was at. You know, like I say, back then, I was always setting my car up when I could go back in, like going into three, the old three. As quick as I got right on the bottom of the flat, getting in the corner, I was back in the throttle. And if I could hold the car wide open through 3 and 4 there, I would be too tight in 1 and 2. And I knew that. So I would always set my car up to do that, where I could get back on the throttle in 3 and 4 and run wide open through there. And look how much longer it made that straightaway. I was a quarter of a mile longer than anybody else. My straightaway was the way I was running it.
It's an egg-shaped racetrack anyhow.
That's right.
So when you looked at the egg-shaped racetrack, you looked at 3 and 4 being the most important corners
Well,
there.
it was the widest, and it was the longest. And so if you can run through 3 and 4 faster than anybody else, you had them beat mostly because you got that big, long straightaway.
You know, I said earlier, talked about my grandfather going there with cars kind of like this one behind you here. You know, just stock cars, right, really, in a lot of ways.
But that was not stock.
Yeah, that was not stock. Running on the flat, running up on the bank.
Right.
You know, and we've been to Darlington with those cars. We've been to Darlington with what was considered the stock cars of the 60s, and then it rolled into the true race cars, and now we've been to Darlington with cars with wings, and we've been to Darlington with all this stuff. And it still continues to be one of the toughest racetracks on the circuit. Why do you think Darlington is still, from 1950 or 51 when they built the place to 2010, why is it still the toughest place to run, do you think?
Because you have to drive it the same way you did back then.
Yeah.
You know, the track is, well, of course, you got the safety wall now, with about 3 foot in, so that makes the track that much shorter. But if you drive it the same way, you still get it as much as you can. You get as close to that wall as you can through the corners, and so that makes it that much bigger.
So even though all the technology has changed and everything's changed, it's still going to come down to the guy that's sitting behind the seat and where he finds his place to run.
If I was to go back to running today, I'd try my best to run the same place I did before.
That's amazing.